have
oatmeal.
I do love oatmeal. I would eat oatmeal every day for breakfast if I could.
Almond
I think
extract is the unlock for oatmeal. Go ahead.
almond extract in general with baking. People forget they go with vanilla. Almond just a little bit changes the fucking game.
You got to do both. Yep.
Almond
This
extract.
is a post-30s conversation.
100%. Are you kidding?
Mid
Put a
to
little-
late
a
30s
skosh
conversation.
of-
I'm bored as fuck by this. I could
Put
not
a
care
skosh
less
of-
about
of
what we're talking about right
almond
now.
extract. It's a huge unlock.
Listen, we're just talking about how we can up-level your oatmeal game.
You got to finish it with some frozen blueberries because then they cool it down real quick, but then it
It's true.
thaws them. It's
Also,
super
don't
good.
forget a little salt. I know we were making fun of Salt Bay right then, but like the salt really brings out the flavor. It's just gonna fall apart. Welcome to No Clear Answers, where we explore the common challenges all humans, creators, and leaders face and break down preconceived notions of common self-help ideas. We are your hosts. I'm Ricky Goldenberg.
I'm Justin Mulvaney.
I'm Dr. Corey Wilkes.
And today we are talking about confidence.
Confidence.
Confidence. That is right. And I am confident that we will walk away with some good thoughts because confidence is a hot topic. And so we're going to talk about what it is, why it happened, why we need it, how to build it. I don't know, guys. Is there anything else that we're going to talk about when it comes to confidence? I don't even know what we're going to talk about, but I'm confident that we'll cover a lot of good topics. And I'm not going to stop making that punny joke.
It's very mature of you, Ricky, to be confident while not knowing.
That's right, bitches. Anything,
Ricky,
friends?
what is confidence?
Listen, I don't have the Merriam-Webster definition here, all right? I could, right? I always think of confidence. Okay, I get to answer the question first. That doesn't happen when you're okay. I'm doing it. The way I think about confidence is basically it's ultimately feeling a little bit more comfortable in a space of discomfort. That's usually how I think about confidence. It's basically like I'm going to go into the unknown and I am comfortable that I will figure it out as I go through it. I think confidence can also look like blind confidence, right? We're just like, I think everything I do is perfect. I'm the golden child. But when I think about confidence at the purest form, it's basically those moments when you feel like I sort of know what I'm doing and I'm also comfortable with the space of what I don't know as well. So usually when I talk about confidence, I talk about it on a spectrum with my clients, and it ranges from hopeful assumption, which is basically toddlers and 6'3" guys named Chad. Sorry, all 6'3" guys named Chad. It's people who are just like, I got this. Like if you've ever seen a toddler try to jump off something, that's hopeful assumption. The second one, the second element is belief in self, which is the one that I think most of us spend the most time in, which is like, I don't know if I've done this before. I haven't done this exact thing, but I believe that I can figure it out. That's the center of the spectrum for me. And the third edge over here is experience. I've actually done this before. I'm coming in with subject matter expertise. I can be a consultant, a mentor, a guide. I'm so confident in this area or this topic that I can deliver information around it. So usually I think about confidence as a spectrum of experience. And I think most often we are hanging out in the section of belief in self. And that's actually why confidence is really tricky, because it requires belief in self. Tell me about you guys.
I'm holding in this. I largely hold the position that when most people are poking and searching and looking for confidence, that it's bullshit. I think
you stole my mojo.
when I think most people, when they say confidence, they're talking about an experience absent worry and fear, an experience of ease. Like they're talking about a way that they're relating to and experience something. And frequently the driver of that is a sense of self-trust. But yeah, I think the way we frequently talk about confidence today in terms of needing to search for it and build it and all those things isn't always in service of most people. Reminds me of our conversation of motivation. They're looking for confidence to get started or do something scary. They have the equation inversed, and they're hoping to get confidence to go somewhere. And I don't think it works that way. You need to go somewhere to get confidence.
I am so sold on that. I feel like as you were talking, I was like, this reminds me of our motivation conversation, because people so often come and they're like, I need to build my confidence. And I'm like, okay, go to the confidence gym. Like, what the fuck is that? You can't just automatically build confidence because you say you want to be more confident. And truthfully, if you are someone who's building confidence based on bullshit, you're kind of that hopeful assumption area of like, should you really be that confident? Probably not. Chill out a little bit. Corey, what about
Ricky,
you?
I rarely hear people say, I want to build more confident. I hear them say, I want to be more confident. That's
true. They're not even open to realizing that it's a build.
Yeah, they just want to, like, not being confident is a problem, and therefore I want to be more confident. And I'll put a pin in this because I want to hear what Corey has to say, but there's a real conversation around, like, well, what do you think, like, confidence is going to give you? Can it not be a problem to not be confident? Well, let me pass it over to Corey. And Corey, if you say confidence is bullshit, I'm just going to let you know you're just copying me now.
Yeah. So
because I said it first.
I will rephrase it as, I think a lot of people misunderstand confidence. But yes, it is bullshit. So it kind of depends on if somebody is asking like, hey, I'm looking for a confidence coach, right? Or I want to build or have more confidence, which I can go on a fucking tirade about confidence coaches and dating coaches another day, but it'll probably happen today to an extent. But
we just need to briefly do that episode already of just like our let's burn down the coaching industry. Like we have this episode in us. We'll record it sometime.
Yes.
I think that's actually just for us. Does anyone want to listen to us just talk about that for a while? That's just,
I want to have it to listen to on the days where I'm like really on one, just to
okay.
It'll be a scorched earth episode. Just fuck them all. But okay. So with confidence, right? There's a difference between like, well, what does confidence mean to me, right? For most people, like when they just think about confidence, a lot of times their idea of confidence is based off of what they have observed of somebody else, right? And we always feel that other people are more confident than us, right? Because what we see is them in their element, or we only see the observable aspects of their nature and their behavior. We do not see their internal monologue, their insecurities, their imposter syndrome, their whatever, right? It's just like, oh, but they're so confident because they did the thing. It's like, yes, but they did the thing in spite of low confidence, maybe, right? In spite of insecurity, right? Or some other, what they perceive to be a shortcoming. But we don't know that. So we just assume everyone around us is more confident, right? Which is, lack of confidence is a close cousin to imposter syndrome, right? Because intrinsic within that is the belief that we don't belong in the room because everybody in the room is confident. And since we aren't, we do not belong in that room. Okay. But I think that if somebody were to say, hey, I am looking for somebody to help me build confidence, what they're actually asking for is the ability to accept themselves and what they want to do, what they feel is right to do, to be able to trust themselves in their own judgment and commit to the things that they know are right for them to do, the things they want to do, right? And to give themselves permission to do the thing they know is right for them to do, right? So that isn't confidence, right? That is trusting yourself, accepting the things you actually want to do, giving yourself permission to pursue them. That, I think, is what most people actually mean when they say, I want to be more confident. Okay. The third sort of aspect of confidence is more of just like a blanket term. I think confidence comes down to a combination of what psychologists call self-esteem versus self-efficacy. So self-esteem is basically your belief in yourself of, am I a good person as is? Like, am I worthy? Okay. Self-efficacy is your belief in your capabilities. So I can have low self-esteem, but high self-efficacy. I can believe that I'm a worthless piece of shit, but I can knock this project out of the fucking park because I know that my skills, my abilities are good, but as a person, I am not good enough. Okay. And the opposite can also be true. I can think I'm king shit, but then when you say, hey, Corey, can you do this thing? Absolutely not. I have no ability to do that. Right. Confidence in that context is a combination of self-esteem. I am good enough. I am worthy. I have value to give to the world just as I am, and self-efficacy. And I have a track record to back that up. So that's sort of how I see what most of us use the umbrella term as confidence.
I think there's another, as you were talking, I was really honing in that there's another component of confidence that comes up when people say, hey, I want more confidence. And oftentimes I think it usually shows up in, I want people to perceive me as confident, which is unique. I hear that a lot for people that they're like, I want to show up as being confident with the leadership team, or I want to show up as being confident with the interview that I'm going into, or I want to be confident with the board when I have to go into that meeting. Like I want to project confidence, and I want the perception of me to be, oh, you are confident. But it's not always I want to feel confident. It's that I want to be perceived as confident. And I think that's one of the complications here as well, which is that to the flip, what Corey was saying is that, some people, you think everybody else looks confident because they're sort of in their element. And then you question, do people think I'm looking confident? How can I make sure that I sound confident? And then I think people start looking for hacks. They're like, oh, it's about my voice and my power poses and how I'm preparing. And we don't necessarily have that many controls in how other people perceive us. And so if instead we flip it and focus on the things that are within our control in terms of our belief in self and understanding our self-esteem and our self-efficacy and sort of what's important to us, there's a little bit more strength in what we can do. Because otherwise, if I'm just looking for other people to think I'm confident, I'm giving that away, basically. I'm giving it away. The idea of, am I confident? You tell me. Woof. Like that feels so painful to just give that power to someone else, that they're going to tell me if I appear confident and comfortable in myself. There was a question I had, and it's correlated, which is that it does, however, sometimes feel that some people have it and some people don't. And the same with motivation, right? When we talked about some people, it just seems like they're more motivated and some are not. What is that? Why is that we feel like some people that you're just like, that person's so confident, that person's not confident at all?
Are we conflating confidence with introversion versus extroversion? Because a lot of times we just sort of assume like, oh, they're extroverted, they must be more confident because they appear more confident in social situations, which is usually when we see other people. By definition, that is a social situation. Right? So is it that they're actually more confident? They have higher self-esteem, higher self-efficacy, or just personality wise, are they more energized by being around people?
Well, I think it's also the perception. Like, are they perceived as confident versus are they actually confident?
That's it for me. Which is, if we go back to what we said initially, which is confidence is primarily an internal state. What I would offer you is you don't know if they're confident or not. So if you're saying so-and-so is so confident and I'm not, what I would reflect, and I want to be confident like them, I would reflect, what are you actually seeing that's making you believe that they're confident? And what are they doing that you want to be able to do? Because this is, for me, the primary inquiry around confidence. I think when I hear people say, I want to be more confident, the two questions I ask is, okay, well, if you were more confident, what would you have then? Or if you were perceived as more confident, what would you have then? And if you had that, what would you do then? And this comes back to what you said, Corey. Most people are waiting for permission, and they're making confidence the thing they're waiting for. And so if you're saying so-and-so is so confident, I want to be like them, what I would ask is, again, what are they doing that makes you say they're confident? And what's stopping you from doing that, aside from your lack of confidence?
I love it. And I also think it's uniquely different, because I feel like some people might be hearing that's fake it till you make it. And that's not this, for me, what you're describing. What you're actually describing to me is, how do you define and recognize and appreciate confidence and want to incorporate it and act on it in yourself? Because, for example, for me, something that I find really valuable and actually really fucking confident is when someone's vulnerable, when someone's authentic, when a leader can come to me and say, I actually don't know the best path forward, but I feel like we can figure this out. That actually demonstrates confidence to me, right? So I think it's really important that what I heard and what Justin was saying was not fake it till you make it. It's not saying, just pretend you have more confidence and just act like that and be a bull in a china shop. It's much more around focusing in on what is it about that other individual that you're recognizing that's resonating with you. And if you had that, what would that look like? How would you act? How would you sort of experience and move through the world? It's a great question.
Yeah. And what I would say is, Ricky, is we actually don't know, again, if those behaviors we're saying that person seems so confident, they might not be confident at all as they're executing them from an internal experience standpoint. Like, let's toss back to motivation. I think confidence shares something with it, which is confidence is a fleeting emotional state. And it is amazing to be feeling confident and ride that wave up. And I think it is a core competency for anybody operating in the world to be able to do the things you want to do while not feeling confident.
I also think that, again, a misunderstanding a lot of people have is they assume that confidence is like a global trait that this person always has across the board versus it's situational, right? Like, I am confident in this aspect of my life. I am confident that I can do X, Y, or Z, but not A, B, and C. Well, if I'm not confident that I can do A, B, and C, I just don't fucking do those, right? I focus on doing X, Y, Z. Well, then you only ever see me doing X, Y, Z. So then you just assume I have confidence in the rest of the fucking alphabet. And I just don't, but I only really apply myself toward the areas that I feel confident based on esteem and efficacy that I can actually succeed in.
That's really interesting, because that's like a double-edged sword, right? If I'm constantly confident, what I'm also doing is I'm avoiding growth. Like, if I'm always looking comfortable and confident and in control, a lot of times, and it might be thoughtful avoidance of growth or trying new things, but ultimately I'm actually avoiding being in spaces that I lack confidence. It's almost a fixed mindset. I'm only taking on what I already believe I will be successful within. I will not fail. I will safely move forward in this. And it's a blocker if we're looking only to do things that make us feel confident and that we're already confident in.
Well, I think that's why people okay, so if somebody were to click on this episode, like, oh, I want to learn more about confidence. Okay, then the large majority of people are probably listening or watching the episode because they want to develop more confidence, right? And what most people are actually saying is, I want to grow, but I feel like I can't grow until I have confidence, right? I can't do the thing. It is just like you said, Justin, it's just like fucking motivation. I will do the thing after I get motivation. I will do the thing after I feel confident, right? And that, like, again, it's the same thing with motivation in that action happens, then motivation happens, right? It's the same thing with confidence. Once you do the thing and prove to yourself you can do the thing. Then you develop confidence that you can do the thing. Right? Like, because if you look at anybody who is good at anything, every single one of them were born sucking at that fucking thing. Right? And if you talk to anybody who is good at a thing, they will tell you, I have put in an ungodly amount of reps doing this thing. So yes, now I am confident that I can build a business. I can, I can do martial arts. I can play an instrument. I can do this. I can do that. The reason I am confident, one, is I have a track record, but more importantly, as I just put in the fucking reps, doing it again and again and again, failing, succeeding, learning, iterating, experimenting over time, that is what built my confidence. My confidence is rooted in reality and an actual track record. Because people who are globally confident and they don't have a track record, right? Like, confidence without a track record is just delusional narcissism. Like, that's all the fuck it is. Of like, yes, I'm awesome. I can do anything I want. Okay, motherfucker, what have you done? Oh, I've done nothing, but I can do anything I want because I'm just fucking awesome right out of the womb. You're a delusional narcissist. Hard fucking stop. If you don't have a track record, it isn't confidence. So if you lack confidence, build a track record. Go ahead.
Well, and I think the other thing that is interesting there is that confidence doesn't mean perfection either. It doesn't mean, oh, because I've built this track record and I put these reps in, now when I do it, it's going to be perfection. I think confidence is actually this belief in self, this understanding of the self-esteem and the self-efficacy, and that I'm capable, right? Like, I think of the book about Pixar and how basically, Pixar's creative team, the creative process is a shit show. There's always going to be that moment that you're like, is this going to work? And the reason why Pixar is so good is because they know it's going to work, but right now it's going to be really messy. And we're confident, we're comfortable that in the mess of right now, it's still going to function. And there might be like dips and valleys and it might be uncomfortable and we're sort of all working together, but ultimately we will get there. And that confidence is at a meta level. It doesn't mean that in every step we're protected and it's going to be perfect. It's actually saying, hey, you know what? I'm going to try this thing. I believe that I can try this new thing. It's going to get wonky. I'm going to have learnings throughout it, but I'm confident that I can move through it. And that's a much more effective way to be confident.
They're confident in the process.
Yes.
They
it's
trust
confidence in
the
process rather than outcome.
Yeah, I think there's our culture, we glorify confidence a lot. And I think we don't talk about the wisdom of not being confident. There's so much in that. I think of a lot of founders I work with who they're launching new products, they're launching new marketing campaigns, they're doing brand new things, and they go, God, I'm not feeling confident and I wish I was. And I think, no, the thing is, you're making your not confidence a problem. That's where the actual pain comes from, where, yeah, you shouldn't be confident. You don't know yet. And that not confidence is leading to an orientation that's inviting you to pay attention, to learn things, to adapt. I don't know about you all, but when I feel confident right in my britches, I'm not paying attention to anything out there. I'm just on my track that I'm confident will work. And there are some situations where that's not the most useful way to be. And so I'd invite people in, if you're wrestling with, I'm not feeling confident about XYZ, can you find the wisdom in your lack of confidence?
I think it's a beautiful opportunity too, right? In that moment, recognizing, I'm not feeling confident doesn't necessarily mean shut down operations. It might mean let's go research. Let's go create a mini challenge. Let's go learn something out there. Let's go bring in someone who might have innate knowledge that I don't have, and I'm not pretending that I have it and I'm bullshitting everybody. And there is benefit to recognizing that confidence is not a Band-Aid. Confidence is a byproduct of experiencing discomfort and growth and challenge and doing new things. And yeah, it looks sexy when someone just appears to be confident. But I think it's more interesting when there's actual meat behind it.
And it's just a nice to have in my book, right? It is a nice to have. I'm thinking of basketball now, and people think they need confidence to like hit the game winner in order to take the shot. And really what I would say is the orientation I encourage is, can you be completely comfortable missing the shot? You don't need confidence that you'll hit it. You need to become comfortable that you're going to miss it. And then you actually have the best chance of making it.
One of the guys I know, he's 3-time national wrestling champion. He's moving on to be like international jiu-jitsu champion and things. He's a high-level competitor. And he says, and he's a confident guy largely across the board because his work ethic is on a different level. But one thing that he always says with competition is, because people are like, don't you get nervous before competition? Because everybody wants to be more confident when they're in the arena, whatever that arena looks like, right? And he's like, look, the thing I tell myself every time before I walk on the mats is, I am more than this moment. Win or lose, I am more than this moment. And the fact, going to what you're saying, Justin, the fact that he can separate himself from the outcome and learn to see things from a much higher vantage point gives him the confidence. Because a lot of times panic is when we're myopic, right? Like when we're too short-sighted about like the immediate results or our immediate environment. We've lost perspective. But when you gain back the right perspective by removing yourself from the situation and looking at it just a 10,000 foot view or whatever, then you're like, oh, well, one way or the other, shit's going to work out. One way or the other, this win in 10 years isn't going to matter. This loss in 10 years isn't going to matter. But what will matter in 10 years is the fact that I put myself out there, that I worked hard, that I iterated, that I, had, despite my lack of confidence, I chose to still do the thing, right? Because like what that whole saying about, courage isn't the absence of fear, right? It's choosing to act in spite of that fear. I'm sure I'm butchering that quote, but that's the gist of it. And that courage and confidence are largely synonymous for most people. But you're waiting to feel bravery when that may never happen.
There's one other thing I want to point to before we shift to whatever's next, which is, I think also breaking the myth that people who are successful are always confident is so important. Successful people every day experience moments where they're not confident. It happens all the time. It is completely normal to lack confidence. And again, the core skill, like the wrestling champion that Corey's talking about, is being able to detach and go, whatever, I'm more than this moment. I'm more than my lack of confidence. I'm more than if I achieve this outcome right now. That's where real resilience comes from. And there's probably a different episode on this, but I choose resilience over confidence every day of the week.
I am also convinced that most people are like ducks in that
there's so just curious.
I don't know what's coming. So I'm very concerned.
Their legs are delicious. You should fry them in their own fat. They quack. What is this?
What are we? What the?
They're great with. Are
we talking about Mighty Ducks?
So, the metaphor of a duck, right, is on the surface, like when ducks on a pond. On the surface, ducks look super calm, but then if you can see below the surface, they're like frantically kicking their legs and things. Okay, I'm convinced that the majority of people we are comparing ourselves to, all we see is what is above the surface. We just, they're a fucking calm ass duck. Yes, but underneath they are they can be frantic as fuck, right? Meaning mentally, or all the shit they're doing behind the scenes. Like there's a lot more lack of confidence, insecurity, embracing fear, facing it, pushing past it, than just blind global confidence and calm and courage all day, every day. So that's why I think most people are like ducks.
Wait, but
that was really good, Corey.
That was beautiful.
Honestly, I thought that was going to be a train wreck.
I thought he was going to fuck with us a little bit, but that was beautiful. Thank you so much, Corey. Okay, but I think that actually brings up a good point, which is that I feel like we're talking a lot of shit on confidence as a concept and the desire for wanting more and getting more. But in the description that you just gave me, I also think it's important to note there is a benefit to appearing confident. Like that duck looking confident, right? When we talk about CEOs, it's very common that if you find, they're waking up in the middle of the night totally panicked. But when they stand in front of their team or instead of their board or in front of the leadership team, they are able to project that kind of confidence. And I don't want to lose that in this conversation. So when we talk about that, how do you feel about that concept, which is this moment of recognizing all the feet paddling under the water and having to navigate the discomfort and the process, but still in those moments showing up as a good version of self in a way that still inspires comfort right? Because it's like, I'm not going to show up to an interview, for example, and bring all that bullshit with me. That's not the best thing to bring to an interview. So there are still moments in our lives that we do need to appear confident even when we're panicking inside. And so to me, I think that's part of this conversation as well is, well, when do we navigate those moments that we may not be able to pull back the curtain for the people that we're spending time with? And we do need to project an element of confidence or comfort when we are in a position, right? It's like you go into the interview and they ask you your weaknesses. I'm not going to give you the long list of all of them. I have to still think about what is appropriate for this setting.
I want to yes and challenge the premise here.
Do it.
So I want to hold that, yes, there are benefits to appearing confident even when you're not confident. It would be madness to challenge that. And in my experience, we as a culture over-index on the benefits of appearing confident when we aren't, and are unaware and under-index on the benefits of being able to be honest when we're not confident. My experience is we are more blind to the benefits of going, hey, I'm actually not feeling super confident right now, than we are to the benefits of appearing confident when we're not. And so I want to hold both of those things. I see a lot of leaders go, well, I can't appear like I'm not confident right now. I need to appear confident. I need to appear together. And over here I go, bullshit. Can we make space for the possibility of allowing and presencing a lack of confidence in a relationship? Both are valuable. And I want to challenge the notion that there are arenas where we need to feel confident or we can't appear like we're not confident.
Okay, so I'm not saying that we can't appear not confident. My point is that there are moments in time that we can still be honest, right? If I'm in an interview and you ask me, hey, have you ever done this before? Part of confidence is saying, I haven't done that exact thing before, but I have done this other thing, right? I'm not going to lie. I'm just going to still have integrity and honesty. But if I'm coming into the entire interview showing up being like, well, I don't know, like, do you like me? There are components and there are moments that there is benefit to at least presenting ourselves as capable, competent. And I think that often looks like confidence. And I do think there's a little piece there that we have to think about.
So, Justin, it sounds more the way I think about what you're saying is there is a time and place for what I call tactical vulnerability. Right. So it isn't necessarily that you lack complete confidence so much as there is uncertainty and you are confident that if you put it out there and process it with your team and show vulnerability for the specific reason to move the project, the goal, the team forward, right, then that may be beneficial overall. And even saying like, hey guys, I don't know where we go from here. Or, hey, I've really been struggling with X, Y, or Z. Like, I am showcasing my lack of confidence because I am confident that by processing it, there is a better outcome versus me just lying and faking it and pretending to be confident and leading you all astray. Because my job as a leader is to be at the forefront of everything that we're doing. And sometimes that means modeling the way, which means embracing vulnerability in so much as it builds the team up and helps us move forward. That is what I think of when you're talking about that.
I'll add one thing. Yes, absolutely that. And another example I'll use is people will frequently be nervous going into big conversations. Founders in conversations with investors, people in job interviews. And they make it not okay to be nervous versus just allowing the reality of when you step into that job interview and somebody goes, how are you going? I'm excited, a little nervous, like curious to see where we go today. Like allowing for that to just be there. It doesn't have to be the end of the world to be nervous, to be a little bit lacking in confidence.
That and Ricky, to your point with like interviews and things too, conveying confidence is really about building trust, right? Like I want you to trust in me and my abilities. And I do that through showcasing that I am confident in my own abilities, right? Like if I'm going to hire you, if I'm going to collaborate with you, the more confident you are to a point, the easier it is for me to trust you and my money, my time, my energy in investing into you, right? But I will, me personally, I will trust you more if you can tell me the things you're not confident in, right? If you're like, look, I don't know how the fuck to do this, like,
Absolutely.
I'm down to figure it out, but I am not good at these things. However, I am good at these other things. The fact that you were honest and vulnerable for a second, and you admitted your shortcomings, now your strengths are 10 times more believable. Versus if you came in, you're like, I'm fucking good at everything. I'm like, I'm going to believe you're full of shit. I'm
I
actually
like
going to
it.
believe that you have less confidence because you are overcompensating with too much confidence. Because the person who's like, I'm confident over here, I'm not confident over here, I'm going to believe you way, way more.
I like that a lot as a reframe, which is that it's not about projecting confidence, it's about developing trust, right? Just think about it like when we use dating as an example, right? If you show up as being like, well, I can get any girl, like I do anything I want, I'm not interested in that. But if you can start to build a relationship with me and peel back layers, it's much more interesting.
Well, and I believe, so if you say that, I believe that you believe that. But the fact that you believe you can get any girl anytime, anywhere, I also believe that you're fucking delusional or just a cocky motherfucker that I don't want to work with. So you have
Understandable.
shot yourself in the foot, right? I
This is what
believe
I
you
mean,
believe
though,
that. Go ahead.
Corey and Ricky, which is it's not always projecting confidence. It's being willing to hold confidence and lack of confidence right next to each other and having it be perfectly fine. I'm confident I can nail the sales call, not confident I'm going to run a great marketing campaign. Beautiful.
And I think as coaches, right? Because as coaches, we tend to do like discovery calls. We tend to, people trying to fill it out as far as like if it, we mesh together, if we are competent, right? And I think that as coaches, it's hard at first to get comfortable admitting the things you're not great at, right? Like, when somebody's trying to like scale a company, for example, I am not the person for that. I can help with that, especially with like the psychological bottlenecks and things. But the actual like tactical, how do I scale? How do I, do a seed round? Like the most I know about most of that VC shit is what I've learned from fucking Shark Tank, right? Like I am not I'm not the guy, right? And I could be the guy because I know that I'm capable of learning it, but I also know that I am more valuable to this other group of people with this other group of problems. So I have to develop the confidence to admit my shortcomings and where I'm just not as valuable to you, but then be able to showcase where I am valuable. And I believe you're going to believe me way more because I said that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is also why it's great to know other coaches because it'd be like, oh, you should talk to Ricky. You should talk to Justin. I'm not your guy, but they may be a better fit for whatever thing you're wanting to do, right? But I think that is something we all struggle with to some extent, whether it is as a coach, as an employee, right? Again, like, hey, I'm really good at X, Y, and Z, but I'm not good at this other shit. I'm down to learn this, but this other thing, if you're looking for this person to do these things, I'm never going to be your person. And even
Yeah.
dating, right? Like even dating, like when I was single a decade ago, right? it was like my girlfriend and I, we sat down and I was like, look, this is all the good shit about me. This is the not so good shit about me. This is the shit I'm willing to compromise on. And this is the shit I'm not, right? Take it or leave it. This is the whole package for better or worse. I want you to know exactly what you're getting into. Boom. Right. Maybe that was confidence. Maybe it wasn't, but it was forthrightness and trust of I'm just letting you see everything about this offer so you can make an informed decision. And I think that version of confidence goes a lot further than pretending to be some cocky motherfuckers like, I am awesome all day, every day. There's nothing wrong with me.
Now, one last thing, just to bring it back to Ricky's original point. There's going to be a subset of people around here who think they're being honest, but really, I went to a Buddhist meditation retreat, and a meditation teacher once spoke about how there's some of us who carry around a bag of all of our inner and past garbage. And when we meet new people, we're just like, here's my garbage bag. You need to know about my garbage bag. And so, yeah, if you're one of those people who are showing up to job interviews or important calls and just the thing on the forefront of your mind is your inner garbage bag.
You're trauma dumping all over everybody as a first impression.
Yeah. Or just here's all the things I'm not confident about. The work for you is, where am I confident? Right?
Yeah.
Start to expand your realm of focus. And so for me, this is a theme for me, is to hold the polarity of lack of confidence and confidence. There's a subset of you out there who it's like the muscle is, where am I confident? And plug much more deeply into that. So again, we're not projecting confidence, but when you're showing up there, you can stand in confidence authentically.
Yeah, I think there's also benefit in spending a little bit of time with, some of the strengths work that we've talked about and values work as well. Because when we, like Corey, when you were saying it, talking about, okay, here's my list of things. This is what I'll compromise on. This is what I'm good at. This is what I'm not good at. I think there's also opportunity to sort of revisit those things too, right? Like I come into this organization and I say, I haven't done this before. I would love to try it. Or I haven't done it before and I would love to hire for it. Because I've recognized that, for example, this is something that's not in my wheelhouse and I don't desire it to be in my wheelhouse for now. And then we can still sort of reflect on that. And I think that there's something interesting there, right? It's like for Justin, if I'm showing up with this entire bag of all of my pains, it's not always productive. That's not always a helpful discussion. It doesn't always have it oftentimes is really reflective and really kind of distracting. Whereas if I spend time with that little bag and I say, okay, these parts don't actually need to come to this conversation. These parts maybe a little bit. And these are parts that I actually should probably be working on and be open to sort of playing with a little bit. I have such a vision of like showing up with this clear garbage bag to all my meetings.
I'll never forget it. The garbage bag. No, I think I asked the question. And he brought it up, and it was just beautiful.
But you're right. Like some people overcompensate the other way, right? Mm-hmm. And now we're talking about first impressions, which is related to confidence because you want to project confidence for first impression, right? Because then halo effect kicks in, and then we just assume, oh, they were great on this first impression, they must be a great person overall, right? But if you trauma dump on day one, all anybody's ever going to think is this motherfucker trauma dumps every time they get a chance. And that just is not how you make friends. It's not how you get the job, the date, the whatever. Right. So no, fully agree. Like there's a middle ground of I'm good at this. I'm not good at this. If you go too much one way or the other, you become incredibly off-putting to everybody.
I think it comes back, Corey, to the tactical vulnerability as well, in terms of recognizing what space am I in? Where do we want to have this conversation, right? I assume that with your current partner, that conversation with the list of all of your flaws was not on date one. I hope it wasn't on date one.
We half knew each other a little bit before, and then we were, listen, it's just a whole different thing, right? Like I am a blunt asshole. And then you're like, and then you get to know me. You're like, oh, you're not that bad. I'm like, no, I'm becoming an endearing asshole. You've just gotten to know me, right? Like I accept that about myself. Right? I'm a bro, right? We've already talked about this. I'm apparently a fucking bro. But we knew each other partially, and then we were like, okay, well, we're looking to date. I'm like, look,
so
I'm
we made
not
a very
trying to
informed decision.
Correct. I'm not, and it was consensual in that we're going to have this discussion, right? I wasn't just like, listen, bitch, this is how the conversation's going to go.
Here's my list.
It was very mutual. Yeah, I had fucking.
I'm going to tell you my good bits. I'm going to tell you my bad bits, and you're going to make a decision right here, right now.
You're going to fucking sit down and listen. Yeah, no, it was a very mutual, consensual conversation that we prepared for because it was like, oh, we're considering dating. We don't want to be 3 months or 6 months into this relationship and realize, oh fuck, you're super religious and I'm not, or you're this and I, like something like catastrophic that would end any relationship, right? We wanted to make sure preemptively that we had all those conversations in the open from the beginning so that there weren't any like nasty surprises down the road.
Boy, oh boy, don't you wish that all co-founders were having that conversation before they decided to go into business together? Boy, oh boy,
episode,
don't
please.
you wish the co-founders were sitting down and talking about, hey, here's what I'm good at, here's what I'm not good at. What are you good at? Oh.
See, what we should do someday is have a guest episode where it's just our partners on the podcast talking about what it's like to date a coach or to be married to a coach.
It requires a lot. You gotta be ready. You gotta be ready. Listen, I saw a very funny like meme the other day she's like texting her boyfriend. She's like, my shawarma fell apart, and he's like, oh, are we in the feeling stage or solution stage? And I'm like, yeah, that's what it's like in my house. Because if you come downstairs and you're like, this thing is happening, I'm like, all right, like what kind of space do you want me to hold for you? Like
you're like instantly
do you want me to just
calm.
listen? I'm like, should I just be mad? Do you want me to be mad with you? I'll do it, but like.
Justin does not seem a fan of this idea. He's like, no.
Okay.
No
Friends.
comment.
No comment. Go ahead.
I'm assuming we're going here, but I did have a list, Ricky. You mentioned our values and our strengths episodes.
Yeah.
If you're new to the pod and some of that hit a chord with you, some other episodes that might be valuable for you. The imposter syndrome episode 1 could be really good. Strengths episode, which I think is episode 9, would be really good. And they're not out at the time of recording, but by now, I believe our episodes on inner critics and perfectionism should be out.
Yeah.
And so if you're here and there are layers of I'm in the bucket where I'm carrying my trash bag around and struggling to hold authentic confidence, those 4 episodes for me might all be good ones to go to because they tend to be common things that undermine confidence, or in the case of strengths, and Ricky called out values, knowing them can help surface some more confidence.
Did you say imposter syndrome? Because I also think imposter syndrome would be
I
a
did.
good
I
episode.
did.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Episode 1, imposter syndrome.
Friends, can I switch us over to like talking about boosting confidence though, and sort of working within this space, because I feel like we spent a lot of time talking about how it's like, just deal with it, like go through the feelings. I do think it's helpful to start thinking about sort of what are the things that are helpful in terms of navigating this discomfort. And so, y'all want to share? What do you do when someone comes to you and they're saying, "Hey, I'm really lacking confidence, and I want to be more confident, or I want to build confidence." Where do you take them? What journey do they go on with you?
My question is, what is a lack of confidence keeping you from doing or achieving?
Mm-hmm.
And then I would go into why is doing or achieving that thing so important to you? Right? Because I do a lot of values work. So then I would be like, okay, well, how does it relate to your core value? Or what does a life aligned with your core value look like? What is, getting in the way? How can you recruit your current strengths and resources to overcome that? Right? How are you kind of getting in your own way? Right? Because more than likely the world isn't telling you you're a stupid, broken piece of shit. It's probably something either with your own personal narrative, toxic relationships in the past, or your own something else within your psychology that then we're going to target that. Right. But those are going to be my first 2 questions is, what is this preventing you from getting? Why do you want to get that thing? Why is getting that thing or doing that thing so important to you? And then typically that allows them to stop focusing on their own insecurities and focus more on what does the world need from you? Why is this thing worth doing? And that is sort of like, I can't remember if I've talked about this before, but like if you're at a restaurant and let's say you struggle with confrontation, right? And confrontation is an offshoot of confidence, right? If the waiter gets your order wrong and you struggle with confrontation, you may just be like, oh, thank you. And you don't say anything. But if they get your friend's order wrong, you may be more like, be like, hey, this isn't what they ordered. Especially if your friend, because I have food allergies and shit. Especially if your friend has a food allergy, or like if your kid has an issue, right? Well, then instantly you're like, hey, this isn't what they ordered, XYZ, whatever. Like you instantly kick into that like mama bear mode, right? Regardless of your gender, right? And that is sort of how I think about this, is when we focus on other people and what they need, confidence or lack thereof becomes a non-issue. But if we focus on ourselves and what we want and our own insecurities, then it's very inward focused. It's very much like, what do I want? Why am I so self-conscious? Why do I have these shortcomings? But as soon as we look beyond ourselves, lack of confidence is no longer the thing that is preventing us from moving forward, because we're so focused on what the world needs, what other people need, why this thing is worth doing. That is a way that I've seen to just kind of circumvent the whole confidence conversation, because as you're focusing on other people, well, now you're putting in the reps that then builds that confidence that you originally struggled to get.
So the first thing I would say is, if you're looking for a quick boost to self-confidence, and specifically getting more connected to the areas of unique strength that you've kind of, I'm going to use the language, earned confidence in. Getting feedback, positive, constructive feedback, is really powerful. We talked about this in the strength episode, but give yourself the gift of 360 feedback, but only ask people, what are my strengths and what am I uniquely good at, in your opinion? And do this for 10 people at least. And in my experience, what this does is, now I have a data set of external people who are saying, this is what you're good at. And it becomes crystal clear what those patterns are. And this is kind of an interesting game, because what we're doing is, I can't presently internally source confidence. So let me externally source confidence to start to build internal confidence. So that's the first thing that I might do with somebody who's really struggling. I loved everything Corey said. So yes to Corey, and I'm adding some additional things you can do here. The second thing that comes to mind is really see if you can just hold the mantra, no confidence, no problem. I really, really hold the belief that where most people get into trouble, where they get into spirals, is they're making it a problem that they don't feel confident. They're making it a problem that they're doubting. They're making it a problem where there's fear. Whereas if you can just hold, oh, I'm a human being and I don't have confidence right now, literally no big deal. It's Monday and I'm not feeling confident. So what? That circumvents a lot of the spiraling and shame circles that people get into, where they're showing up and just like, I'm a piece of garbage, I can't do anything. It's not for me because they're not confident. It's because they're making the not confidence a really fucking big deal. It's like, who cares? I'm not confident I'm going to make the shot. I'll just shoot it anyway.
Justin, I'm sure you have more, but I got to throw this one in there, which is that for anyone who listens who has kids, there's a show called Gabby's Dollhouse. And one of my favorite things about that show is that often when she's doing something new, she says, oh, I haven't done this yet. It's always yet. And she throws in yet, and I fucking love it. And that's what you were making me think of as you were saying that, which is that it's like, oh, okay, like I haven't done this type of presentation yet. I haven't done yet. We're about to go do it. We're going to do it. It's going to be okay. We're going to figure it out. But this idea of yet can be such a beautiful confidence booster, because it's recognizing that you are going to build the experience. We just don't have the experience yet.
Yep. Get excited about unconfidently taking your shitty first swing.
Yes. And also watch Gabby's Dollhouse if your child likes cats. You're welcome.
The last thing that I'll add, which this is the long-term zoom out view, is in my experience, confidence follows a track record. And this is why being unconfident is so key, because confidence builds over time from knowing I'm showing up and I can do it. And that's why you have to get comfortable starting with, I don't know if I can do it. Because over time, that gets there. I'll own what I've been professionally coaching now for just over 3 years. I think it took me 2.5 years before I was reliably feeling confident in coaching sessions and discovery calls. 2 years, 2.5 years, right? And even now I'll show up in calls, and I'm sure you all have this. There's times where I'm not confident. And again, no problem. Maybe I shouldn't be. I'm not entirely sure what's going on with this person. I've got more that I need to figure out before I can go, ooh, I can come in here and assist with them. And so really, this is where what Corey said matters is if you've decided, if you've dug into what's really important to you and what really matters, sometimes it's just a function of showing up for enough time for confidence to bloom. It's like a flower, and you just have to keep showing up and giving it sun and water for it to actually show up. Ricky, what you got for us?
Well, guys, I'm on board with what everybody's sharing here. I think that we got a lot of yes anding going on here. What is this, an improv group? For me, I think the only things I would maybe add is usually when I think about confidence, I think about it in two different buckets in terms of play and in terms of support. And so play is almost injecting play into the process of confidence. And that could look like, let's go learn. Let's go create mini challenges. Let's actually celebrate our failures, right? Recognizing that this is a process, this yet element of it is a really beautiful way for confidence, right? So for example, if I have someone who comes to me and they're like, man, I need to show up as like more confident in interviews. I'm like, all right, go do some interviews. Go see, go play, go see what happens, go show up and see what it feels like. And sometimes you're going to screw up and sometimes we're going to get information. Sometimes we're not. Let's go enjoy it. And then the second component is around support. And this is a little bit more rooted within our internal self. I think, Justin, the example of bringing in really that 360 review of people who care about, I think about it as building your sounding board and recognizing who should be in the peanut gallery and who should not be in the peanut gallery, right? There's going to be people in our lives that we love and we respect and we value, and they're not who we need when we require confidence boosting. They're the people who challenge us, that help us grow. And sometimes we might need the person who just has relentless optimism. Sometimes we need the person who actually helps us kind of check our blind spots. So basically my point is that when we're trying to build confidence, it's about recognizing where are the resources, the support tools, the individuals that can help build what we need in that moment. You might need someone who's going to challenge you and be like, yeah, you could fuck up. Like, should we think about this? And yes, you might need someone who's just like, nah, they'd be lucky to have you. And that's the energy that you need going into that conversation with that VC or that organization. That also, last but not least, I feel like we've probably talked about this before. I am such a fan of celebrating your wins, of keeping track of them. I keep a folder on my phone. I literally just screenshot it every time a client or someone I've worked with is like, holy shit, this thing changed my life. This thing improved things. And it's so beautiful as a tool, both going into, let's say, a discovery call, going into something that's difficult, and also in those low moments when maybe something didn't work out that you wanted it to, because sometimes we can conflate that, right? We can say, because I failed, I no longer should have confidence. And coming back and recognizing, my strengths, my values, the things that I am good at, recognizing that I've done really good things can also help in those low moments as well. So I think about it, and that's what I would add on to our list of boosts.
Brilliant.
Thank you so much.
Any more? Anyone have any last words on confidence?
Corey does.
I'll say one more thing. So
the doctor does.
The doctor.
The biggest piece of advice I can give if you feel like you're struggling with confidence is you don't need confidence. You need conviction. Okay? Confidence tends to be selfish and inward focused. How I feel about myself and how I show up in the world and my capabilities, my self-worth, the value I have. Yes, you can think your way to more confidence. Yes, you can put in the reps and things, and you should, because a little confidence goes a long way. But if you're 20, 30, 60 years old and still struggling with confidence, maybe take a different tact, which is conviction. Conviction is selfless and more outward focused. Conviction is what needs to exist in the world. I believe that the world needs this thing. And I believe this idea, this specific way of going about it is the best way to make that a reality. Okay. It is easy for me to not, to not have a lot of confidence in myself, yet have conviction that this thing should exist in the world. Okay. And I think that largely can be a more productive way for you to approach how you show up in the world and the things you strive to achieve, rather than just trying to blindly build confidence. Because what most people, when they try that, like Ricky said, they try to fake it till they make it, and you just become cocky or arrogant. And arrogance isn't the same as confidence. But if you have conviction, a lot of the things that you're actually seeking to embody are downstream of having conviction and pursuing the thing you have conviction about. So that is the thing that I will add.
Yeah, good thing to play with, getting externally oriented rather than internally oriented.
Yeah. I'm gonna repeat what I said at the top, which is also hanging out with understanding the spectrum of that confidence and where you're trying to play. Am I in hopeful assumption? I'm going to jump into this pool and just hope it works. Am I in belief in self, which is that I'm going to jump in this pool and believe that I can learn how to swim? Or is it experience? I know I can swim. Of course I can jump in this pool. And starting to recognize, where are you in the spectrum on this topic? And that might also influence the type of support you need as well.
Cool. I got one more thing. I listened to a podcast
got one more
recently.
thing right now.
It has nothing to do with confidence. I listened to a podcast, and they started and they said, hey, if you like the podcast, give us a good rating and share it with somebody. And so, message for the listeners, hey, if you like the podcast, consider giving us a rating or sharing it share your favorite episode with a friend. We're on YouTube, we're on Spotify, all your favorite platforms. We appreciate any ratings and any shares so we can get this out to as many people as possible.
I personally appreciate 5-star ratings more than any other type of rating, but yes, we do appreciate any kind of rating.
That makes me feel like an Uber driver. 5 stars. Give me 5 stars. Every time you get an Uber, they're 5 stars. I'm like, but what if you're 4? They don't want my 4.
Well, here's what Corey's not saying. Any less than 5 stars, and Ricky berates us at our next team meeting. She's on this bender of anything less than 5 doesn't count. So Corey and I have a bad time if you give us less than 5. So please.
She's super mean off camera.
She seems so nice, but she's terrifying. Oh, she's just she's the dictator of no clear answers. You know when she said, she jokingly said Madam Empress, and she makes us call her that. If we text her and refer to her as anything other than Madam Empress, she calls us and berates us. So God, please just 5-star reviews, more subscriptions. It's terrible.
Another time I'll tell this story about a person I worked with who had told me that he assumed I was basically Machiavelli, and I was like, what? And he was like, because you're so kind, I can't trust you. And I was like, who have you been fucking working with that because I'm kind, open, honest, and vulnerable with you, you automatically think I'm trying to fuck you over?
Because it's a 50-50 chance. Either you're a genuine human being or a fucking sociopath. When you're
as far as I know, I'm not a sociopath, but now I'm scared.
I wonder when you're rating Corey and I for our 4-star reviews. I really wonder.
Yeah. So please, just give us a good review so Justin and I can continue going on about our days.
Yeah. Otherwise, I'm going to be so mean. I'm going to yell at them.
Anything else for today's episode?
No, we did it, friends.
I feel great.
Okey-doke. Toodles.